When was the last time you felt good about the internet? The online landscape today is a harrowing one. People screaming at each other on social media, violent videos going viral, cyberbullying, racism, misogyny. It's hard to say for sure where the web started to turn sour. But a case can be made that the last good day of the internet was February 26th, 2015.
How could we not start with this video? 2 llamas on the run in Sun City for hours today.
That morning, people around the country were huddling around their monitors. A news event was unfolding that was holding the internet in a trance.
The must-see video of the day, llamas on the loose in the valley. They were at an event.
A pair of llamas had escaped from a visit to a nursing home in Sun City, Arizona.
A man let go of his rope, and before we knew it, it was Llama's Day out here in Sun City.
So we're double choppering the 2 llamas for the day. We've learned some
Helicopter crews documented the chase as the llamas dodged handlers
llama's head button. That is not good.
And wove in and out of oncoming traffic.
This is crazy. It would be really neat to be in those cars on the streets with the llamas.
Online, the incident was going viral under the hashtag llama drama.
The entire internet, my office included, was just obsessed with these escaping llamas in Arizona.
Kate's Holderness and her colleagues at BuzzFeed were watching the llama drama from their office in New York.
And there was like helicopter footage and news coverage, and it was just hours of everyone being like, oh, are they going to catch the llamas?
They do have a couple of guys with lassos around there, but they've tried to throw these things. They got it with
Trace.
one.
The llamas finally caught and headed back to their trailers.
They finally did catch the llamas.
Believe it or not, watching llama videos was a big part of Holderness's job at BuzzFeed, trying to predict what would go viral and how to capitalize on it. At the time, BuzzFeed was the king of viral content, with 200 million visitors a month.
We had the attitude of, if a piece of content makes you feel something, you should post it.
And toward the end of that day, as the llama drama was dying down, Holderness got a message on BuzzFeed's Tumblr account.
Hey, BuzzFeed, can you look at this thing that I posted? My friends and I are losing it. We're freaking out. And I was just like, well, I don't see what the big deal is. It's a blue and black dress. I leaned over to 2 of my colleagues who were sitting beside me, and I was just like, hey, guys, what color is this? And at the exact same time, one of them said white and gold, and one of them said blue and black.
Her colleagues were looking at the same picture of a dress and seeing completely different colors.
They immediately started debating with each other.
Their argument drew people in from the rest of the office.
Within 10 minutes, there were 20 people standing behind my desk, just screaming at each other. Just couldn't believe people were seeing it different colors. I was like, if we're fighting about it, maybe the rest of the internet will fight about it. So I threw it up into a BuzzFeed post, hit publish, and then left work. Didn't really think much about it until I got off of the subway. My phone kept crashing. I couldn't load Twitter, and I had dozens of text messages from friends and colleagues and family members saying, you're ruining our lives. Like, what did you do? I looked on Twitter. At that point, I had like several thousand notifications, and everyone was freaking out. It was just like the entire internet was freaking out. It started making the rounds through New York media.
Well, it's black and blue or gold and white, and has us debating all over.
It's gold and white.
Blue and black.
Yellow and white for sure.
Well, my wife says it's blue and black.
And then it just spiraled from there. Taylor Swift is tweeting about it now. Kim Kardashian's tweeting about it. It was absolutely surreal. Most of the people who voted in the poll voted white and gold, which just is bonkers to me because I've never been able to see it white and gold.
The dress would go on to become one of the most viral memes to ever break the internet. It drew everyone in from the sidelines in a mostly fun battle over the very nature of our shared reality.
I think it went viral because people just love fighting over low-stakes things.
At the time, it wasn't clear why the dress became such a viral phenomenon. We didn't know it, but the internet landscape was shifting beneath our feet. It wasn't about keeping up with what your friends and family were doing anymore. It was about feeding you content you would click on. And social media companies knew that what people really engaged with was content that was controversial, content that was divisive. Even things that were supposed to be fun, like the dress, were sparking heated arguments. And as a result, the internet was getting angrier.
The number of posts that I saw of people using wildly aggressive language, not only towards me, but towards other people, calling people just the worst names and the worst slurs. I should not have gotten death threats and rape threats for posting a picture of a dress. It's like, really, guys? It's a picture of a dress. It's not that deep.
The dress was right there on the crest of a powerful wave. It was both a symbol of harmless internet fun and also a sign of division to come.
It's a metaphor for the fact that people can approach an objective fact and be so far divided in how they view and interpret that fact.
It's been 10 years since the dress, and today the internet is in a state of turmoil. The line between online and off is increasingly blurred. Fights over the nature of our reality seem to rage every day. But now, the stakes of those fights are higher than ever, and we're left to wonder what went wrong.
I think a lot went wrong. I think a whole lot went wrong. The internet we have in 2025 is fractured.
How did we get here? To the moment we're in right now with the internet. A tool designed to give everyone access to all the world's information has become a fire hose of lies, hoaxes, and conspiracies.
The anti-vaccination movement is growing due to a new wave of conspiracy theories shared through social media.
They're force vaccinating our children.
Websites that brought friends together have also become rallying points for hate groups and hotbeds of extremism.
The incels are part of a larger online group that's been called the Manosphere.
Their frustration festering online can turn violent.
But it wasn't always like this. The internet also gave power to the people, and it helped to topple autocracies.
Opposition activists organized the march on Facebook.
That online energy could actually be converted into on-the-street action.
In this season of Long Shadow, we're going to chart the evolution of the internet, from the optimistic days of the dot-com boom to our present moment, a time when the internet is at the heart of so many of our problems. The story of the internet is also a story of greed. The world's richest companies used algorithms to monetize attention and maximize profit. Algorithms that have changed the way that we interact with each other, online and offline.
The short-term dopamine-driven feedback loops that we have created are destroying how society works.
Along the way, we became the product and the target, and we learned that the internet could be turned against us.
It's the protesters who've gone on trial.
People were being imprisoned and held indefinitely because of what they posted on social media.
And used by adversaries abroad to try to destroy America from within.
The Russian conspirators want to promote discord in the United States and undermine public confidence in democracy.
How did a tool offering so much knowledge drive us into an existential debate over our shared reality?
We're living in a post-fact world with fake news, echo chambers, and deep distrust of media.
How did a tool with the potential to lift all voices end up amplifying the very worst of them?
The result is a system that amplifies division, extremism, and polarization.
How did a tool with the ability to fuel democracy become a weapon aimed at the very heart of it?
There is an alignment of interests that runs through Silicon Valley to what is now a coming autocracy. It's a coup.
This is the story of mankind's greatest invention. It's also the story of the biggest crisis facing society today. My name is Garrett Graff. From Longlead and PRX, This is Long Shadow, Breaking the Internet. Episode 1, The End of the World as We Know It.
Imagine a world where every word ever written, every picture ever painted, and every film ever shot could be viewed instantly in your home. It sounds pretty grand, but in fact, that's already happening on something called the internet.
The year is 1993. Gas is just over $1 a gallon. Minimum wage is $4.25 an hour. Mass media is hitting its apex, and American culture is about as homogenous as it's ever been. Everyone is listening to the new Whitney Houston song on their Walkman. 90 million people are tuning in to watch Oprah interview Michael Jackson.
Where did that he thing come from? It just comes out of
And there's one movie everyone has to see in theaters.
Jurassic Park. Hold on to your butts.
But somewhere in the background of all that, this new thing called the World Wide Web just became available to the general public. For decades up until now, the internet has been a thing used by computer nerds, scientists, and the military. But the World Wide Web is meant to be used by anyone and everyone.
You can do more than just send messages on the internet. There's loads of useful information in here. You can get news, recipes, and...
The World Wide Web is better looking. It even has pictures on it.
And I found this satellite weather map in there.
The web is still brand new, and only a select few seem to understand what it's good for.
What about this internet thing? Do you know anything about that?
Sure.
What the hell is that exactly?
What do you write to it like mail?
Allison, can you explain what internet is?
It's wild what's going on. You can send electronic mail to people. It is the big new thing.
I mean, when I heard about it, I definitely wanted to try it out. You know, I had this dial-up line and we used it to download the World Wide Web.
This is Stephen Levy. He's been writing about the internet for publications like Wired for 4 decades. But his interest in the subject really took off when the World Wide Web came out in 1993.
It was pretty easy to use. It was incredibly slow. And I would spend hours and hours sitting in my little office waiting for the pages to load. There were so few websites that every day you would learn which websites came on. And there would only be a handful. Here's a website about Elvis. Here's a website about the Grateful Dead. Here's a website about medicine or politics or whatever.
Even in its quirky infancy, the World Wide Web was tearing down the barriers of communication. Suddenly, through email, instant message, and chat rooms, people all over the world could communicate in one big open forum. And the crazy part is that back then, online conversations were pretty civil.
There's an interesting kind of restraint you find. I mean, there's not a lot of cursing or swearing. One would think if you're anonymous, you do anything you want. But people have their own sense of community and what we can do.
And the content was pretty tame too.
There was this one site in Cambridge, England. The people in their computer department had a coffee room and they put a camera on the coffee pot and they put it on the web and people all over the world could check the status of the coffee pot. And I would check it like 3 or 4 times a day.
It's hard to explain now how being able to connect to a live stream of a coffee pot in another country felt revolutionary. But people like Levy knew that if you could access that from the comfort of your own home, one day you were going to be able to access everything.
A lot of the people who were the philosophers of the internet preached an idea that information should flow as freely as possible. This is something that's going to democratize everything. It's going to level the playing field, and big institutions will have to face competition from the little guy everywhere. Citizen journalists could spring up and come up with their own publications. Governments would lose power as people could share information and spread it. People thought it was going to topple autocracies. So it was an exuberant time where people celebrated the potential of the internet. I definitely felt that it was going to be a democratizing force.
The internet was going to change the game, But in 1993, it only had about 14 million users. By 1994, 25 million people had logged on, many of them through services like CompuServe, Prodigy, and America Online. The web was still so small, all of its sites could fit in a book called the Atlas to the World Wide Web. But it was starting to become a household name.
Internet is that massive computer network, the one that's becoming really big now.
The Internet's founders believed in its democratic power, but its real potential was in commerce. In 1994, Pizza Hut became one of the first companies to sell something online, a large pepperoni and mushroom with extra cheese.
Anyone want some pizza?
It didn't take long for big companies to see the appeal. By 1996, there were 40 million people surfing the internet, spending more than $500 million a year on online shopping.
Who are you?
I'm Jeff Bezos.
What is your claim to fame?
I'm the founder of Amazon.com.
When Amazon appeared, unbelievable. A bookstore with a catalog with everything.
As the revenues of companies like Amazon soared and people logged onto the internet by the millions, it sparked a feeding frenzy of investors willing to buy into .com companies at any price. They dumped obscene amounts of money into web startups you either don't remember or have never heard of.
We're coming to you from one crazy dog park!
Like Pets.com, a pet supply company with a dog sock puppet as a spokesman.
Squeaky toys, new collars, leashes.
Even that company was valued at almost $300 million. The Wall Street trading floor was a mosh pit as the stock market ballooned to record highs on the back of all that .com speculation. It was perfect. The internet was a cash cow, but it was also good for society. It was going to change everything about how we lived, communicated, shopped, and shared. And in 1999, with 280 million users and growing, there was nowhere to go but up.
I can't believe how easy it is to surf the net.
It's so easy to learn and so much fun to play on.
Surf's up. See you on the net.
From the beginning, the internet was just a tool. It reflected the people who were using it. In the early 90s, those people were mostly polite nerds. But as more and more people piled in, some of the problems we now recognize as part of a free and open internet started to emerge.
2 years ago, Elliot pulled the plug when she found her teenage sons downloading pornography.
We found sadomasochism on our computer, available at the flick of a button.
Pornography was something that there was like a big panic about. The idea is that an 11-year-old kid is going to see more pornography than a person like me saw in his entire lifetime.
Children sometimes are exposed to images parents don't want them to see because they shouldn't.
In 1996, President Bill Clinton signed the Communications Decency Act into law.
The law makes it a crime to display indecent or patently offensive words or images on the internet. But opponents say the law is patently unconstitutional.
Parts of the law were struck down the following year for violating the First Amendment right to free speech. But a debate started that still rages today. How would we deliver on the democratic promise of the internet that speech and information should be free, while also keeping it safe? The upside of the internet was that it allowed for unfettered access to information. But people were starting to learn that that was also its downside.
This man asked to remain anonymous. His 14-year-old son paid $9 and got the recipe for this pipe bomb from the internet on his home computer.
What would happen if volatile information got into the wrong hands?
By using those computerized directions, this is the result.
We have enough problems in America without our kids learning how to become junior terrorists.
But perhaps the internet's most obvious and glaring problem was just starting to dawn on people.
The internet, as wonderful as it is, has become the world's largest rumor mill, chock full of hoaxes, scams, and conspiracy theories.
What if I just wanted to vent my rage at whatever? Can I just get out there?
Piece of cake.
I can go out there and say anything I want.
Take me about 10 seconds to make this live on the internet.
You heard that right. People on the internet could say anything, whether it was truthful or not.
The good side of this is that everyone can become a source. The bad side is that everyone can become a source.
The double-edged nature of a free internet was clear. The world's information would be at everyone's fingertips. That included its porn, its bomb instructions, and its outright lies. But at the end of the day, what you consumed would still be up to you, at least for now. By the late 90s, it was obvious just how dependent we were going to be on the internet. In a decade, it had infiltrated almost every aspect of American life. Kids used it in classrooms, businesses used it for commerce, and governments used it to run their systems. But as the 20th century drew to a close and a new millennium was on the horizon, the world was going to learn just how quickly technology could turn against us.
If you want to, there are plenty of things to worry about as we approach the end of the 20th century. Global warming, biological warfare, meteors from outer space, and now Y2K. Y2K is the year 2000 computer glitch that threatens to crash the world's computer networks.
One night, I was in my kitchen, I don't know, straightening something up. I get a phone call. Some random guy, kind of high-pitched, hysterical. And the first thing this guy said, "Stop being listed. People should not know your name. You're going to be in danger." You know, I was thinking in my head, this guy's a nutcase. This was the first call that I got warning me about the end of the world.
In 1999, Ellen Ullman was a computer programmer who had published a book about the tech revolution. She says she was used to getting cold calls from random men trying to date her. But one night, she got a call from a man who was trying to warn her about a computer glitch that had become known as the Y2K bug.
He said, society's going to crack up. It's going to be wild out there. Everyone's going to be roaming around, trying to steal other people's stuff. Nothing will work, no electricity, and water won't run. Water. Okay, all right. He was in terror. He said, you have to fix it. You have to tell everyone to fix this. The world's going to come to an end. I went on to tell people, but a different story from the one he wanted me to tell.
By the time Ullman received that call in 1999, the internet age was facing its biggest crisis yet.
A Senate panel describes Y2K, the year 2000 computer bug, as a worldwide crisis and one of the most serious and potentially devastating events this nation has ever encountered.
The Y2K, or year 2000 bug, had been in the offing for years. Back in the 1960s, computer memory was really limited, precious, and expensive. To save room, programmers decided that years in computer code would be represented with only 2 numbers instead of 4. 1965 would just be 65. The choice saved millions in memory costs. But as the millennium approached, it presented a massive crisis. By 1999, there were hundreds of millions of computers, but many of them were not able to recognize the year 2000. It was thought that as the world rolled over into the new millennium, critical systems would malfunction disastrously.
Shutdowns of telephone systems, the food industry, power and water, banking, even nuclear bombs going off on their own could all plague the world on January 1st.
Power grids might be completely knocked out. Planes could fall out of the sky.
I don't want to be anywhere remotely close to an airport midnight on December 31st.
But the biggest concern was that a nuclear weapon might launch accidentally, or that a radar system might think one had been launched.
Russia, like the United States, still keeps thousands of strategic weapons on hair trigger alert. That's the equivalent of about 100,000 Hiroshima bombs that could be lobbed around the planet in under an hour.
The fix for the Y2K bug seemed impossible. Programmers would have to work around the clock on every system in the world, scanning billions of lines of code and updating year dates manually.
It's an enormous task. The more I thought about it, the more I thought, God, how is this going to work? How in the world are you going to do this?
If we act properly, we won't look back on this as a headache, sort of the last failed challenge of the 20th century. It will be the first challenge of the 21st century successfully met, and together we can do it.
I think a lot of people thought it was a hoax and nothing would happen. They were just scaring us. I got scared for a minute. There was one night I'm sitting alone and I just felt, uh-oh, what's over my shoulder? Something dark is over my shoulder.
Ullman decided to do what the crazy man on the phone had told her to do. Find out how people were tackling the Y2K problem and write about it.
Companies were desperate to find people who knew what this code was about. And they were calling back all these old veterans to come in and help them. Well, I talked to a few programmers. They said, I'm fixing code I wrote 30 years ago. I didn't think I'd ever see this code again. They just got to work.
Fixing the Y2K problem would take a massive effort of coordination and cooperation, an effort that was now possible because of the web. Programmers around the world connected online, sharing software updates and patches. The rapid sharing of information allowed companies big and small to prepare their systems for the new year.
The process of fixing a single computer program is tedious and time-consuming, and you have to go through them line by line.
The year 2000 is approaching at the rate of 3,600 seconds per hour. We're running out of time.
With the clock ticking, the internet was bringing nations together around the world to collaborate on the problem. Even the American and Russian governments were working side by side.
The Pentagon has spent $3.5 billion fighting the battle of Y2K, including setting up a joint missile warning center with the Russians to make sure a computer glitch doesn't set off false alarms of an attack.
But as organizations tested their systems, there were signs that catastrophe might strike anyway.
The Peach Bottom nuclear facility experienced a serious glitch when operators tried to fix a Y2K problem. Doomsday sayers are predicting massive blackouts come January 1, 2000.
I spoke with a programmer at the Federal Reserve. I asked him, how's it going? Oh, it's fine. We have these techniques. And I go, oh, that's good. And then he went on to say, well, almost everyone I know is getting off the grid. They're buying guns. They're buying camping equipment because it's all going to be dangerous, collapse out there. I said, how did you get from everything's great to everything's terrible? He said, well, I think we have everything well in hand, but I don't know if other people are in hand. That was the fear, that they're in the darkness of the internet. Someone else would bring it down.
While the internet sped up the Y2K overhaul, it was also spreading rumors, fear, and misinformation about the crisis.
There were fear-mongers out there, scaring everybody.
You're going to have water problems. I'm seeing a rather dark forecast. You're going to lose half the population of the planet.
We're going to be in a world of hurt come January the 1st, 2000.
Order Millennium Fears, fact or fiction video for only $19.95.
In the last days of 1999, people all over the world were preparing to varying degrees. Some were hoarding food.
Chicken noodle.
They've stocked their shelves with soups.
Chicken noodle.
More than you'd find in some convenience stores.
Somebody really liked chicken noodle.
Some people were preparing for a full societal collapse.
The biggest sellers are ammunition, gun safes, kerosene lamps, and water jugs.
I think there are real risks of, panic behavior, which could have a profound impact on our society.
People out there that I've talked to that said, there's nothing going to happen. What are you basing that on? Nobody knows. No one.
For others, all this Y2K stuff was a warning that technology was leading society astray.
It's almost become an idol, like the 10 hours that my son stays in front of the computer. So it's maybe only just that this idol comes crashing down.
Toward the end of 1999, the U.S. government reported that it had made tremendous progress in fixing the Y2K bug.
We do not at the moment expect that this will be, as the websites are calling it, Tiatawaki. That's the acronym for the end of the world as we know it.
I am standing at ground zero in case of any accidental nuclear missile launch. Behind me, you can see the tunnel entrance to the command center for NORAD.
It's December 31st, 1999, outside the North American Aerospace Defense Command in Colorado Springs. At nearby Peterson Air Force Base, Russian and American officers are working together around the clock.
You may think you're in Moscow.
Our crews are getting along as a peas in a pod.
Are you confident that there will not be a launch?
We are very confident in the U.S. forces. There will not be an accidental launch of a nuclear weapon.
And how confident are you of the Russian forces?
I'm very confident that the Russians will not have a problem either.
New Year's Eve, Y2K. I gave a party, I lived in a loft at the time, and 100 people showed up. We got dressed up like it was 1933. We put on evening gowns. It was so much fun. At this party, I kept the TV on. I was watching it. One place after another entered the year 2000.
The world's eyes turned to New Zealand, the first major country to ring in the new millennium. The orchestra blared and the lights stayed on.
Here in New Zealand, not one single major, or for that matter that we know of, minor Y2K problem.
Back at NORAD in Colorado, military officials watched closely as Moscow prepared to enter the 21st century.
It is a dramatic time in Moscow. You see Red Square celebrating this moment in the less than 20 seconds now to midnight.
Earlier that day, Russian President Boris Yeltsin stepped down, appointing an acting president.
Vladimir Putin, Mr. Yeltsin's hand-selected prime minister and now successor. There has been great debate.
As the clock struck midnight in Moscow, an intense relief spread across the room at NORAD. But that relief was short-lived.
Quick alert! Quick alert from Russia. Looks like the city of Plesetsk.
Radar showed 3 Scud missiles had been launched in southern Russia. The officers rushed to figure out what had happened and learned that the Russian military was firing at extremists in Chechnya. An American general reportedly called Russia and said, "This is not a good time to be launching missiles." People around the world were reporting in on the internet. There were no major Y2K issues.
4, 3, 2, 1, happy 2000!
Every city they go to, all around the globe, nothing happens. As one time zone after another was still operating, I got relieved. But I wondered, what's the next one? Is that going to go down? And eventually it rolled around to us in San Francisco. And it was over and nothing happened. We all yelled, yay, and Happy New Year, and lifted our glasses of champagne. And there was a sense of relief. It was just like a sense, I think, of disappointment somehow. No one really wanted to go home yet, so we went and watched the fireworks on the roof. A lot of people were crowded up there and drinking heavily, and if it's the end of the world, I'm going to go down drunk. I saw all those people celebrating, and I got really happy. There was a sense that we were all in this. The whole world was involved in this. I thought, good, thank you, programmers. Thank you, thank you. Now everyone's happy. At the end of the party, I was putting away some things, and that call from that strange guy came to me out of the blue. He said that everything's going to collapse and water won't run. Water. Turned on the faucet, washed my hands, And there it was, all the water. Like all the code, it runs.
Disaster had been averted. The billions of dollars and millions of man-hours spent on addressing the crisis had paid off. But of course, there were those who thought that the whole thing had been a big hoax.
Some people are questioning now whether all of this was overkill, whether the problems were that large to begin with. I just would like to know when you're going to come by to pick up all that bottled water and beef jerky that you made me buy.
I just want to say flatly that it wasn't a hoax. We didn't have a collapse because there were armies of dedicated programmers. The job they did was astounding to me.
Y2K is remembered today as a joke, a punchline for government fear-mongering, an overreaction rather than a rare moment when people came together to solve a problem. It's worth imagining if the same thing would even be possible today, that we could agree on anything, much less unite in a common cause. But this was a time before the internet went sour, and as the sun rose on a new millennium, the world felt more connected than ever before.
Good morning and Happy New Year. Or we should say, Happy New Millennium.
President Bill Clinton gave a New Year's Day address.
What is perhaps most remarkable about last night's celebration is the way it was shared all around the world. That people all over the planet could experience the same events at the same time would have been impossible for anyone to imagine 1,000 years ago, even 100. Yet the growing interconnectedness of the world today, thanks to technologies like the internet, is more than just a mark of how far we've come. It's the key to understanding where we're going. In this new, interconnected world, America clearly must remain engaged. We must help to shape events and not be shaped by them. We can make this new century a time of unprecedented peace, freedom, and prosperity for our people and for all the citizens of the world. Thank you, Happy New Year, and God bless America.
At that moment in time, the internet was a blank canvas. It would take the shape of us, the people who used it, for better and for worse.
It's supposed to be a very transparent medium between the author and the reader. So if you find that life is complex on the web, you are reading a complicated part of it.
This is Tim Berners-Lee, the man who invented the World Wide Web, speaking in an interview in 1997.
The analogy was with paper. Can you imagine trying to invent a sort of paper which can't be used for writing untruths or can't be used for immoral purposes?
It's only as good as the world it serves.
Yes,
and in many parts, that's not very good, is it?
In this interview, it's like Berners-Lee is staring through a monitor at the future, at our present-day world, where the web has the power to push us into echo chambers and disrupt our shared sense of reality.
With the web, you can find amid a myriad of different websites something that really matches your particular weird viewpoint on life.
World government, implantable microchips, Satanism, it's out of the open, the Bible.
And then you can filter your emails so that you only communicate with people who also share that weird view. You can get into a sort of cult.
These are the same people that are trafficking children. I did my own research and I found out what this truly was.
You can get into a sort of cultural pothole with a few crazy fanatics. They can't climb out of it. They can't understand anybody who's not in it. When they bump into somebody else on the street, the only form of communication that is left is shooting them.
Welch fired at least one round into the restaurant floor with an AR-15 rifle. Welch read online that the Comet restaurant was harboring child sex slaves.
Do you think in some ways that it's the creation of a monster? It's a profound revolution, isn't it, in terms of technology around the world, and revolutions are sometimes painful, aren't they?
Yes, I suppose that there will be aspects of any change which are painful.
Hope in the face of difficulty, the audacity of hope.
In Egypt, Facebook, Twitter, and Google mobilized crowds and sparked a revolution.
I believe Facebook's products stoke division and weaken our democracy.
Trump supporters helped the Russian internet trolls spreading Russian-made messages.
Misinformation and conspiracy theories are rapidly spreading online.
QAnon's presence in the mob was unmistakable. It all started as an online conspiracy more than 4 years ago.
Google and Twitter and Facebook, they're really treading on very, very troubled territory. They better be careful.
This is something that we've never seen before. The CEOs of some of the most powerful and wealthy technology and media companies in the world seated on the platform for the inauguration of an American president.
It's a type of power that the world has never seen before.
You're watching the unraveling of our democracy. It's not about to happen. It is happening right now.
That's all coming up on this season of Long Shadow, Breaking the Internet. Long Shadow is a production of Longlead, distributed by PRX. The show is produced and co-written by Ryan Swiker. John Patrick Pullen is our story editor and executive producer. Emily Barone is Longlead's managing editor. Kevin Shepard and Ula Kulpa served as associate producers. Additional editorial support by Ula Kulpa. Audience development by Jensen Rubenstein. Fact-checking by Will DeGravio. Claire Mullen did the mix. Sound design by Claire Mullen and Ryan Swikert. John Singh handles publicity for Longlead. The Podglomerate provides publicity, marketing, and promotional support for the show. Music by Epidemic Sound and Marmoset. Cover art by Longlead's creative director, Sarah Rogers. Learn more about Longlead and subscribe to our newsletter at longlead.com. Episode transcripts and more are available at longshadowpodcast.com. If you're enjoying the show, spread the word and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. It helps others find the show. I'm Garrett Graff, and thanks for listening.